Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala imam al-anbiya wal-mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawm ad-din. Allahumma ja'alna minhum ameen. We always begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone say Alhamdulillah. Say Alhamdulillah. Don't say it like you're not proud or shy. Say Alhamdulillah. There's always a reason why we should say Alhamdulillah. There's a lot of reasons why we should say Alhamdulillah that we know of, but there's even more reasons, believe it or not, that we don't know of. Things that we forget. Things that you forget. In the English language, they say you don't know what you got till it's gone. We forget sometimes the blessings Allah has given us until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken them away. And one of those blessings is time. I'm a teacher. I'm a youth minister and a chaplain now, but I actually graduated my university studies, as Sheikh Farhan said, with a degree in English education. So I'm actually a high school English teacher. Don't hate me, please. All the high schoolers are like, we're out of here. But I'm an English teacher, and so I used to teach a lot, actually. And I actually taught English at the same Islamic school that I went to and then got expelled from. So that was an interesting experience. But I had a couple students at the school that I became really close to. I know that there's a brother here from Chicago, so he might know where I'm going with this. But there were two particular students, and they were part of a group of friends that were kind of reminded me of myself. They were good students. They tried hard. They did well. They were very smart. But they were kind of lazy. They wouldn't do their homework. They wouldn't really study for exams. If it sounds like I'm describing your son, then you're probably, all boys are the same in that way. Their names, two of them in particular that I remember that I was really close to were Adnan and Nasir. Two young boys that I was really, really close with. They used to come play basketball at the youth group. We had YM, the ICNA youth chapter in Chicago. We had our neighbor nets that they would come to, and they would play basketball with us, and they would do the all-nighters, the qiyams. Ramadan was always fun, going to IHOP, taking someone's car, even though we were 15 years old, or they were 15 years old, they would take someone's car and drive it to get suhoor in the morning. They were great kids. They were the kind of kids that would open up Oreos, scrape out the cream, and put in toothpaste and give it to everybody. They were the kind of kids that would take a peppermint cookie, scrape off the green peppermint icing, and put wasabi on it instead. But they were so lovable, and they were so compassionate, and they were so just endearing, mashallah, that even though they were kind of like the practical jokesters a little bit, everyone loved them. And they used to be really popular amongst their group of friends. They used to go to all of the birthday parties and social events, and they were the kind of kids that I remember. They used to have a really strong relationship with their group, right? Their clique. They were in it together, mashallah. And one night, actually, they had gotten done praying, and they were actually driving from their, I believe it was Maghrib prayer. They were driving from Maghrib to a restaurant to go to the birthday party of one of their friends. And they happened to be driving a little bit quickly, and unfortunately the weather was bad. And on the way to their friend's birthday party, the car they were driving flipped, and upon impact it exploded. And both Adnan and Nasser, we prayed janazah on them 3 days later. And these are two kids that I was particularly close to. These same kids that would come to me after class and ask me to help them with their grades, to bump them up a little bit because they needed to get A's, because in the Muslim community, anything less than an A is not acceptable. We stood in front of their bodies and asked Allah to forgive them before we put them in the earth. There was one young man who I became very close to. His name was Omar Ahmed. And in fact, he was a lot like these students here today. He was Hafiz. He had memorized the entire Quran. And he was someone who actually, on top of his hifz, he would teach the Quran, right? So as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, that the best of you are the ones who learn the Quran and teach it to others. So he had finished learning and he would teach it to other kids. So after Asr prayer or Dhuhr or Maghrib at the masjid, you would see him with a circle of young hifz students, and they would all be, doing this and going like that and memorizing with him, and you would hear his voice over the rest of them. And he was someone that I myself went to go and learn from and pick his brain and get my tajweed and makharij corrected, my pronunciation corrected, because he was very good, mashallah, with his pronunciation, his tajweed. And one day I remember waking up It was a Saturday, so I woke up at a bright and early 11:30 a.m. And I remember looking at my phone and getting a text message that I couldn't believe. That my friend, my teacher, someone that I grew close to, a community brother, Omar Ahmed, had passed away. He was 19 years old. On his way to school one day, he got hit by a train. Time, brothers and sisters, is something that is very unique. And this life has a very unique ability of making us fall in love with it. This dunya has a very ajib, very strange power, and that whoever gets involved in this life, which is all of us, because we're all living, we begin to love it. We begin to enjoy it, and that's great. But to love and enjoy it to a point where we sacrifice principles and things that are important, we'll sacrifice our family, we'll sacrifice our health, we'll sacrifice our friends, we'll sacrifice even our deen, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everyone should say sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at least once. We will sacrifice even that just for the sweet but quickly vanishing pleasures of this life. But when you have 3 young men under the age of 20 pass away within 1 year, you remember how quickly life can go, how quickly life can leave, and what the more important things are. The topic I was given tonight was youth and time. Youth and time, youth and kids in America. And so I was thinking to myself, what should I do? Should I get up here and tell the kids that, don't waste your summers, right? You're in SoCal, the land of fitna, right? The watan al-fitniya, like this is like the land of fitna. Don't waste your summer. Should I get up and tell the kids, make sure you review your hifz or join the Arabic program? Or what message should I impart to the crowd or the audience, my brothers and sisters tonight? And I thought to myself that everything that I could say, you guys actually already know. In fact, I'm a lot younger than most of you, and I'm definitely not as intelligent or wise as a lot of you. And so you all know what I could say, but I figured I would share just a couple little reflections, things that I thought of, inshallah I'll conclude, that maybe will benefit us, inshallah. The first is the reminder of these dear brothers that I just talked about, these sweet, sweet kids that are no longer with us. The first reminder about them is that they were good. They were great kids. They had a long potential in front of them. They had great opportunity. Everyone was looking forward. Do you know that Omar Ahmed was, for example, he was Hafid. He was also very intelligent. He was someone that I think everyone was expecting him to get into one of the top schools in the Chicagoland area. The other friend, Adnan, was a varsity athlete when he was a sophomore in high school. Very well could have gotten a scholarship, an athletic scholarship, just based off of his talent and ability. But no matter how great their potential was, they only received credit for what they had done. You don't receive credit in life or in school or at work or anything for things that you could have done but didn't do. You only get the credit for things that you've done. And so when we talk about spending time wisely, there's a lot of I can do this or I will do this. But the spirit of the mu'min, of the believer, is I am doing this. I'm starting today. How many of us have a goal? Anyone in this room have goals? Raise your hand if you have a goal. All right, that's a huge problem. Okay. How many of you, your goal is to get to dinner tonight? How many of you, your goals are gulab jamun? Anyone? Okay, yeah, in the back. Mithai, the sweetest goal of all, right? We should all have goals. But one of the most frustrating things about goals is when you don't start them. That they seem to build up. They seem to just kind of pile up in the corner of your mind. And then after a while, you think to yourself, well, I have all these things I want to do, all these aspirations, and I haven't started any of them. And then you begin to see yourself as someone who hasn't achieved anything. And the only way to change that, fortunately and unfortunately, is in yourself. That if you have a goal, if you have a sort of something you aspire to do, the only way to change it is by doing it right now, tonight. It's Saturday. It's June 1st, right? Am I right? California is not on like a different calendar, right? It's like we're on the California calendar. We're like 3 years behind. We're like so laid back. We're like 3 weeks behind, right? Set your goals tonight. Set up what you want to do tonight, especially young people. A lot of you are going to see some very successful individuals tonight, some kids who have memorized the entire Quran, kids who have finished studying Islamic sciences, kids who are, mashallah, graduating high school. You're going to see some wonderful, wonderful achievements tonight. If you want to achieve things like they've achieved, then put your mind to it and do it. Start it. The second thing is, this is for specifically, mainly the young people, is that you seem, or a lot of us seem to think that we have our whole life ahead of us. And inshallah, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us all healthy lives, ameen. Healthy and beneficial lives, ameen. But don't plan too far ahead at the sacrifice of thinking about the people that are with you now. It's very easy to think about what you're going to do and not treat those around you as well as you could. You know, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in a very famous hadith, he said that those who don't show mercy, they will not be shown mercy. And so as a young person, when you're with your parents and your parents tell you to clean your room, but your friends are outside honking the horn because they want to go to the beach and they want to go hang out for the day, it's up to you at that moment to decide, who are you going to show mercy to? To your friends outside who can wait for another 5 minutes while you clean up your room? Or to your parents, the ones who raised you, who took care of you, who nurtured you, who woke up in the middle of the night to clean your diaper because you pooped in your pants, and then 5 minutes later you pooped again, so they had to do it one more time? Notice only the women are laughing, which means that the men didn't change any diapers. Mashallah. The men are like, wait, kids poop? What? And the women are just like shaking my head, right? So who are you going to show mercy to? Who's going to be receiving that love and care? Is it going to be the people who have been with you the whole time, or will it be the people that are only you met them a couple years ago in your class? So for young people, do not sacrifice the relationships you have now. Make sure that you benefit them. Make sure that you take care of your parents. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after He says that He commanded everyone to worship Allah alone, He says what? And treat your parents, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And the beautiful thing about ihsan is that for each person, it's different. Ihsan translates to roughly trying your best, doing your absolute best, 100%, whatever you can. So treat your parents as best as you can, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says to lower the wing of mercy to them, to be merciful to your parents. This means that when your parents might happen to make a mistake, which is possible, sorry parents, don't get mad at me. I'll tell you a story actually just to kind of ease it up a little bit. I have a problem eating leftovers, okay? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Kebabs in the fridge won't last more than 2 hours if I'm there, right? So when I was younger, I was in athletics, I was in sports, I would eat everything, every leftover, right? So my mother had to develop a sort of a style where what she would do was she would write the name of the person on the box, and that would be like a deterrent for me. Because when I came in, I was like, look, there's no name on the box, I can eat all the leftovers I want. So she wrote a name on the box. One day my dad came home and put his leftovers in the fridge, and then a few hours later they were gone. And my mom said, I don't even need to ask you. I know that you big old chunky kid, right? I know it was you. I said, Mom, no, I didn't. And if any of you have Egyptian moms, you know what I'm talking about? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا Egyptian moms, right? It's like a, mashallah. My mother, mashallah, was so much of a mother that she actually made up for the father part of my parental relationship, mashallah. She was a very strong mother, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless all of our mothers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to enter Jannah with our mothers and to benefit from them while they are alive and also benefit from them after they leave us. Ameen. So my mom sent me up to my room and she said, God, you know what? I'm going to ground you forever. You ate so much food, you'll be just fine. You don't even need dinner tonight. And I'm like, I swear I didn't eat the leftovers. And she's like, your father worked so hard and you ate his food. Battamiz, right? It's like disrespectful kid. So I said, man, I can't win. So I go upstairs to my room. A few hours later, my mom comes upstairs crying. And I said, do we run out of food? Like totally? Like, did I eat everyone's food? She goes, I'm so sorry, Habibi. She hugs me and she says, your dad came home while I was resting, or he came downstairs and he ate the rest of his food and I blamed it on you. And she hugged me, she squeezed me, and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I said, wow, my mom actually apologized, right? At that point, I could have been like, no, sorry's not enough, right? I want this, but it's up to us when our parents make a little stumble here or there. They promise to take you somewhere, but they can't make it, maybe because something came up, something serious, to forgive your parents at that moment. Or your parents don't quite get it. Instead of stomping up the stairs and slamming the door, you don't understand me, right? To give them that little bit of mercy, because you don't have a lot of time. Honestly, we don't. My last message tonight before I wrap up is to the parents. To the parents of these young people that we have, and also to your own selves and your own families, but also particularly the youth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He gives a dua, He teaches us a prayer to make for our parents. And it goes like something like this. رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Very good. And the dua basically translates to رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا. Oh Allah, oh my Rabb. And referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Irhamhuma, have mercy on those two. Talking about your parents. Kama rabbayani saghira. Just like they did when they were nurturing me when I was younger. And in the tafsir of this dua, because it's in the Quran, in the ayah, the tafsir of this dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He uses the word Rabb twice. Once referring to Himself, Allah, and once referring to the action of parenting. And the scholars have said that the way in which parents interact with kids can sometimes dictate the way in which kids will have a relationship with Allah. So if parents are really strict and harsh and tough on their kids all the time, then kids will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as being strict and harsh and tough. But if parents are just, loving, compassionate, but fair, and not easily taken for granted, then kids will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as just, loving, compassionate, and fair. Don't let the deen become an obstacle between you and your kids. Don't let Islam become an obstacle between you and your kids, because your kids didn't memorize or do anything inside or read in such amount that you're not proud of them. Always tell your kids that you're proud of them. Always tell your kids that you love them. Always deal with them with mercy, even when they make mistakes. You know, a kid came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, I want to commit zina. The Prophet ﷺ could have been like, right? He could have just slapped the kid. But he dealt with him in a mature way, in a loving way, in a way that was beautiful. And so we need to follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in regards to our time with people, because we don't have a lot of time left. As one of my teachers said to conclude, this life is kind of like a hotel room. This life, all these years that we have, are kind of like a hotel room. So when you come to a vacation to a hotel room, you don't want to have any bad memories. You don't want to have any downtime. You want to make the best out of it. You want to spend the best time when you go to your hotel room, when you go to on your vacation, so that you can, inshallah, enjoy it and have the fondest memories. And inshallah, when we make it to our home, Jannah, inshallah, we'll be very proud of the time that we spent in this hotel room. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to use our time wisely, to allow our youth to use their time wisely, and to allow our elders to use their time wisely, and to use time with each other wisely. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.